possibility that can happen, and that could produce artists and as an economic proposition. In other words, we should be making more films. We should have better television, stuff like that. These are industries.
Your play Drums and Colors was first, if I'm not mistaken, performed in '58 as part of the celebration for West Indian Federation. That federation fell apart a few years later, I think around '62, with Trinidad and Jamaica becoming the first independent English-speaking Caribbean countries. As we look at the level of economic integration taking place in this current era of globalization, what are the prospects, in your view, for a successful regional integration project? Is this something that we can get right the second time round? Should we even try? Should we have no nation but imagination?
I travel a lot in the Caribbean as well, and I just get totally furious at the amount of paper it takes to travel between the islands. How can we afford all that red tape and all those things, how many forms we have to fill out? You know what I mean? Yeah. Other countries are simplifying the expense of entering anywhere, Europe, going into Europe, changing countries without a lot of paper. But we have such a conviction about the authority of signing a lot of things. If you sign this and sign that, you know how much paper that costs? You know how much paper it must cost to travel between here and the Grenadines or something? In duplicate?
What do you think has been the obstacle, really, to the regional integration? Is it just every man wants to be king of his own little kingdom, or are there real cultural barriers? We know the language barrier exists, but
one cultural barrier is that we accept the reality that our politicians can be almost semi-literate.
I was waiting to see if there was more. It felt like a complete statement to me.
We have people we vote for who we know are intellectually stupid. Okay. I know it doesn't happen here.
Just two more questions. In your poetry, you've at times been very critical of politicians. Their pretenses, their corruption, their exploitation and neglect of artists. As we look at the region and the way English Caribbean islands have evolved since independence, where do we look for a different breed, for lack of a better word, or a better sort of politician, better quality of politician? Should artists consider running for the House? Or are we better off doing what we do, continuing to create art which has its own sort of political dimension?
I'm not pessimistic, quite the opposite. Otherwise, I wouldn't continue to do what I do. I think there's a whole different generation now of younger people who certainly aren't impressed by white people, as something to be awed by, or race generally. I don't think my daughters, for instance, care about who's an Indian and who's a black person and all of that. Just a generation they don't think like that. That includes America, I think. So the whole generation thing is changing. But it's just repetition. I'm just repeating myself. When I look at what could happen, when I look at the fact that, say, some brilliant people, young people, what it would cost to send this girl or this boy to a university for a year or to an art school for 1 year and let them come back. I have known a girl who, excuse me, please, who was a brilliant actress who got a scholarship to go to Trinidad on condition that she bought her own books. What kind of scholarship is that?
This is my last